Appreciate you guys coming. Just out of the bye week, didn't have my normal presser on Monday. Was out recruiting, so I thought I'd give a chance to visit with you guys. Obviously, since then, there's been a couple of our guys nominated and recognized and honored with some pretty significant awards. But I know it just got announced a little bit ago. Give Bret and his crew and a lot of people in the university DIA created a website that chasing history really for Chase Brown, a guy that from a year ago to where we are today has done a lot statistically, but also just for me as a head coach, the things he does every day in our program, the way he lives, the way he trains, the way he works with an offense, to have a new offensive coordinator really to adapt as quickly as he did to that, which was kind of a different run game. There's a lot of carryover, but I just thought he's really proven to me how professional he is. Obviously, he has another year eligibility that will become a topic after the season, but for right now, just letting him chase history, as many things as he's accomplishing in the 7-game window that we've had. Wanted to give him due credit from obviously the highest award in the land that everybody talks about is the Heisman, but I've had several times in my career where we may have one, sometimes two running backs on the Doak Walker, which I think signifies truly what a running back is all about. Obviously, to recognize as the best running back in college football would be pretty special, and I think he's in the hunt for that because of what he's done. He's the first to give credit to his teammates. So give a little bit of moment about him, and then offensively and defensively to see Palcho and Johnny Newton, two guys get nominated on honor roll for by the Lombardi Award is really kind of awesome to see and witness. To see in the back end, Quan and Spoon both get accolades for their performance, what they've done, and then Johnny Newton especially. And I would tell you, Keith Randolph, even though maybe he didn't get some of that stuff yesterday, the way Keith has played the last 2, 3, 4 games, he's really joining that atmosphere. And then a bunch of other really good players. This is just all-American stuff, right? Like when the time comes for all-conference recognition, I think we have a lot of guys that have continued to do very, very well. So this week we're going to we took it easy on them. Sunday we did our normal routine. Monday we gave them the entire day off, as NCAA rules allow us to do. Got a good work day in yesterday, especially with our Devo guys. Today we did basically our twos became our ones. So a lot of great work out there with our twos that normally don't get as much as our ones do during the course of the week. We had our Devos become our threes and fours became our twos at practice today. We did good on good indoors there, and it was just a lot of really good work. Tomorrow we'll jump into our Nebraska prep and allow us to get a jump start on them. Obviously they're in a bye week as well, so there's really no new film coming in, and they have changed a little bit after the transition with Scott to the new way of doing things there. Really has affected everything, offense, defense, and a little bit on special teams. So excited about that. With that, I'll open up for questions. I think you're also talking to our coordinators and Chase later today. So open it up. Yeah, it really from the pilots that we hop on the plane with to the schools that we walk into, everybody just is a lot more aware of Illinois football than ever before. Well, I'm talking to modern times here, but there definitely is, even with recruiting. I took Pat Evelton on the road with me strictly because we could meet quite a bit about our current roster. We have 3 things facing us, as we have success. There's the COVID year guys that have bonus years because of COVID. There's guys that legitimately have opportunities if they want to go into the NFL. It's just whether or not they'll be in a position that they can be happy with. And the third one, obviously, is just the true portal world, right? Like, I'm sure we're going to get surprised by somebody. We don't have a lot of guys leave this program. I think we take care of them well. Josh affords us to treat our players very, very well. I think as coaches, they know they're getting coached every day. So those are some challenges. But, I think at this time of the year, a lot of times recruits change their minds. We've seen that recently in the last literally 24 hours where we can see people that, that we've had interest in, and maybe they've had interest. We're just kind of a different Illinois than we were last June. So hopefully that draws people's attentions.
With Gabe, obviously you had talent, you got him, but what stands out about what you're doing in the first 7 games? Then do you remember when you got the call from him that he was in and kind of what that moment was like?
Yeah, Gabe, was kind of a unique story. Everybody's recruiting story is unique to them. I always tell kids, don't worry about your recruiting story because everybody's is a little bit different. I remember getting a call from Gabe. I've said this before. My boy Jack Daniels is watching him in basically a scouting game, and he called me from the field and said, "Hey, this this guy here might be worth looking at. And then we couldn't find his huddle film because it wasn't available on normal huddle, so we had to go through schools that they played against. We had a bye week coming, so I sent Aaron Henry down on Monday. I won't say what Aaron said when he called me, but he said this looks like one of our guys. He's just a very impressive, physical-looking person. And then the recruiting process started, and I remember getting on the phone with him. I remember, he has a brother who's heavily involved in his life. His mom is an incredible woman. I think when you go on a recruiting visit as a head coach, you only get a chance to do this one time, where you get to go to their school, their home. And when I walk into Gabe's mom's house, there's a room of 20 to 30 people from the community, people from the neighborhood, and you realized what kind of person you're getting. And then when we got him here on campus and saw the physical skills that we knew was on the film, but when he called me to tell me, it was kind of a gradual process. I think it really got down to us in Tennessee for the most part at the end, and there was a couple of nip and tuck days, but we just kept battling, and I think he saw the opportunity that we had and presented, and hopefully he continues to play that way. Gabe is extremely powerful. For a freshman to be as powerful he is in the way he plays, he's also very coachable. I think Kevin would tell you, he just naturally takes things very quickly. I remember watching film early in fall camp. He knew that I'd coached for the Giants outside backer, so I told him I'd had a bunch of drill tapes. He just showed up one day, and I showed him access to some drills that we did every day in the outside linebacker room. And literally, I only had 20 minutes before my next meeting, and of course he would have went for 2 hours. And he goes, "Where's that at? Where can I watch that?" And he wanted to watch all of it, right? I had probably 5 to 6 hours of film tape, and he immediately wanted access. He's an incredible sponge.
Johnny Newton just kind of said immediately he didn't know how he was going to fit in an odd man front, 3-4 scheme.
Yeah.
Have you been pleasantly surprised over the last year and a half how he's been progressing that kind of?
Yeah, I think kids, until they're in systems and in moments, they don't really, they're based more of what they learned off Madden than anything, right? When Johnny, during the spring of our first year being here, he kind of reminds me, I tell the scouts when I talk about Johnny, he reminds me a little bit of a Malcolm Brown type. Malcolm was a first-round draft pick out of Texas, was a very powerful, athletic, really good in tight spaces. And Johnny's got the ability to convert early and get vertical. I think it was the Indiana game, his first real breakout game. I believe he had 11 pressures. I think 8 of them were on first down. So he studies the game well. It'll be 10 o'clock watching a Monday Night Football game, and I'll get a text from Johnny say, "Hey, did you see that club rip, or did you see that swing chop, or whatever?" Right? He's just always about ball. He's very mature, and for a skill set, he probably does have the unique ability to be able to play down in a 3-down, and then if the next opportunity gets in the NFL and he does it with us, he can play 3 technique to shade. So he's really versatile in that regards.
But it does look like you have a handful of kids that have a decision to make as far as the NFL draft goes. How's that impact your recruiting?
Yeah, it's a little bit of you prepare and understand how these things can go. The best thing I can do, and I actually had a meeting this morning, so we kept our guys, kind of our ones, the guys that are ones and a couple of twos that have played the majority of our reps so far. I kept them out of practice and kind of said we're going to take this week to kind of take it through, and then I did take a moment to kind of take big pictures. So we have a sign on our door walking in and a sign on our door walking out. And the last one on the door walking out, it says manage the outside, right? And literally when I went over the door, when I first put that in front of these guys, we're a team that hadn't won many games. And I said, this isn't for us now, it's about us in the future. And I went into it today for the first time. So they've got a lot of things around them on the outside. Not only will it be NFL scouts and agents, it'll be people that don't have great intentions. It'll be people that they love, that tell them what they think they should do. I'm the only guy in the room that has as much experience as I have to give them the best information they have, that has no skin in the game. Obviously, I want them to be successful. I'm not going to take 4% of their future earnings. I'm not going to take 1% of their future earnings. I just want their earnings to be maximized. There's certain guys that will be able to do reports and be able to give forms for them to fill out, but that can't happen until the regular season is done. So my message today with them was just, don't let anything take you off track what we've done. The reason we've had success today and the reason you're getting accolades is you followed the process, you stayed true to our plan. Let's not change that over the next 5 weeks, and at the end we'll sit down and have some real conversations.
Does that and the success of a guy like Isaiah Adams, does that warm you up to the JUCO market a little bit?
I signed 2 JUCOs last year. I don't think I have to warm up to them. But I don't really care where we get players. I don't care if we find them at Walmart. I'll whatever we got to do. I think the biggest thing we have to do is understand, like last year during our bye week, to find Isaiah Adams and to find Zy Chrysler, that is a direct impact on what our program is right now. So I know if you look at the end of the Iowa game, you see Terrell Jennings, who came to us a week before we started fall camp, played 3/4 of snap at corner, opposite of Spoon when Taz went down. You saw Jonah make an incredible play. 2 kids out of the portal that we got literally a week before we started fall camp. So our personnel department and our coaches, the detail, the follow-up. We offered a young man yesterday, I believe about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and by midnight he had 12 other offers, right? And it's just people are following us. People know what we're doing, which is a sign of a compliment, but there'll literally be times now where I don't follow people because you guys follow me, and then you start writing things I don't want to write about. So it's like a whole trickery game that I can't stand, but it's part of the game.
From an injury standpoint, Reggie Love left the game.
Yeah.
What's his status? Is there anybody else coming out?
It was kind of just a perfect it's not perfect because it's an injury, but Reggie had surgery in the spring, and it kind of just perfectly hit that spot and really aggravated it. So he wasn't out there today, but I think he'll be back. And then Josh McCray looked incredible today. He had a really, really good practice. He practiced yesterday, he practiced today, and hopefully he'll practice tomorrow. And then I think we're in the clear. We should be good to go. He looked really good today.
Josh can alleviate some of those inside the 5 red zone struggles.
It's a good question. I think Josh, whether it's inside the 5 or on the 50, he's going to add a lot. But Barry really hasn't had a chance to see what he is, right? I mean, he got injured during that Indiana game, right? And he doesn't really know. I said when Zero, he does this little thing where he rolls his shoulders. That's his way of saying, "Give me the ball." And I'm like, you'll see what this guy can do.
But it's not often that you missed a bowl game in your career. So I'm wondering, like, the impact of these with development practice you see more before the bowl. What's that mean for your program?
Yeah, just a little thing. We have a great visitor. I always invite in people. I had a former player by the name of Chris Maragos, who was a great player for me at Wisconsin, for us at Wisconsin. And Chris was a guy that he played walk-on wide receiver. He was a transfer from Western Michigan, so he was sitting out. And I went up to him before bowl, and I said, "Hey, in these bowl Devo practices, which is when we practice with the young guys, I'm going to move you to safety." And he was a wide receiver. He was a wide receiver with good speed, not great speed, and he couldn't catch much. So I said he didn't want to hear it, but he went on to play 9 years in the NFL, 2 Super Bowl rings. He was the captain of the Eagles when they won a Super Bowl. And he came directly out of Devo practices, and he's going to talk to the group tomorrow because I invited him in this week, and he's been watching us work. He's just observing, but these guys have never been able to have this opportunity. So, my goal would be we got 2 good Devo practices in this week, but I would think once postseason comes into play, we should be able to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 Devo practices that will be huge for us in our development for next year. Yeah. Yeah. Question is for Palcho? Yeah. So one of the things that really is awesome as a head coach is you see things that nobody else really sees, right? And Palcho last year when we were getting into fall camp, he had done everything we asked him to do, but he was just limited from his ACL and his foot injury. So we went into fall camp, kind of nursed him through that, and there were some things early on that I could just tell if we could get him a little stronger, a little bit more flexible. But he still, played good football last year, but we moved him to guard, and that's when the postseason came and when we talked to compliance and said, "Hey, can we do this?" I sold him on the fact that if we can get a full year of development with you and your lower body, we're going to take your play to another level. Just believe the process, and that's exactly what's happened. I could tell during fall camp, Bart and I both were like, "Wow, he just is." He can bend this backside cutoff, which is a really hard technique for a four technique tackle. He started doing it at a high level. Last year he used to get really grabby, got a couple holding calls, and he's just doing that much more efficiently. But to case in point, Palcho, just literally an hour ago, he came up to me. He goes, "Coach, you got time for me later today? I'd love to talk to you about my game and what I can do here in the final stretch to get better." I mean, he's just never satisfied. I would tell you this, Sid was our leading vote getter for captain votes, but Palcho was second, and Palcho's voice carries a lot of weight in our locker room, and you couldn't have a better voice.
How do you go about diagnosing what's going on in the red area and understanding maybe something different every week?
Yeah.
And also, if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I think two things. Barry and I had conversations, every week. But last week, one of their goals was, obviously red area efficiency is going to be a big part of it, and the defense plays into that a little bit. I think to have multiple running backs is going to be a key factor. I think the development of some of our perimeter throws in the passing game will be better, and just Barry understanding this league and playing against certain defenses. Iowa and Wisconsin do some things unique in the red zone, unique to them. Minnesota had done a little bit of what Iowa did with some cut coverages and some run support, just getting comfortable. There's some things that Barry, I think has experienced through these first 7 games that have made him, he'd be the first to tell you, made him a better coach, right? And unfortunately, sometimes those moments are teaching moments that aren't fun to live through, but they're good to come out on the backside of. And I couldn't be more excited. I didn't even have to say anything to Barry. I left the 2 coordinators here, him and Ryan, just because I wanted them to do a good self-scout. And before I even checked in with him on Sunday night, he'd already come up with like 5 things that he wanted to talk with me about the red area. So it was really good.
Coach, it seems like this team is immune to some of the trappings that success brings. Like, we don't see premature celebrating. We don't hear about kids reading the press clippings. Is that a product of the veteran leadership on the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a product of kids that believe in their coaches. These rewards. Believe me, I show literally. I spent the first 10 minutes this morning. I put up a slide of every kid that got a nomination for an award or some way. Showed our ranking. Right. I showed where we stand in the Big Ten. Somebody's showing it to them, so I'd rather talk to them about what it means coming out of our mouth. And our kids. And I would also say that, I've told them several times how the game ended at Indiana, right? Like, that's not just a loss, that's a teaching moment that'll carry us through forever. So we're not too far away from the other side of it as well. But our kids, I think, understand the moment they're in. It's great to let them see them have that. It's the people around them that I get concerned about. I know what I say to them. I know what our coaches say to them. I don't know what, mom and dad, aunt, uncle, cousin, girlfriend, brother, sister, I don't know what they're saying to them, and that's the stuff we got to constantly monitor them. And I told them today we have a little thing, Illinois versus everybody. Sometimes everybody thinks that's against your opponent or against someone you don't like. Sometimes everybody is your closest friend, right? It's your closest loved one, someone that maybe is asking for 16 tickets instead of the 6 they used to ask for, right? Like, sometimes kids get outside pressures that they don't know how to handle, and that's where as coaches we got to be aware of those moments and help them work through them.
On Saturday, you said like with Chase and his Heisman, like you said you reached out to people who might be in the know. Like, when you take it up the kind of campaign up to the pitch that you guys have
Yeah.
this week, how involved in you are that, and like what's the importance of really pushing that media pitch out there?
Yeah, twofold. Obviously Bret and a lot of people in DIA. Pat Pearson and I have been together on this, but Pat was also one of the things when I brought Pat. He came from Oregon and they'd had a lot of success. I know Pat had a conversation with Chase just yesterday about, like, hey, you got to let us know, right? Because sometimes you might have a busy week in school. There might be something going on in your personal life we're unaware of, and we want to only schedule the things that you feel comfortable doing. But I think Josh has provided us with unbelievable resources. With those graphics, they don't just come out of thin air. Like, people got to create those. That takes work. That takes time. I know you guys make fun of me, right? I'm an old marketing major, so I kind of like to throw out an idea or two there. I'll usually complain if I don't like the graphic, if I think it's a bad picture or something. But it's kind of a collective mindset of a lot of people involved. But it is important, to your point, like, I literally say, like, today Chase and Sid got a lot of there's some Canadian people in here, and I'm all for it. Like, I don't think there's ever been a Canadian win the Heisman, maybe not even the Doak, but like, so that's a unique angle. Let's maximize it, kind of like when I made a big deal about 2 twins going to media day. It's never been done before, right? So let's take this is such a fun time to be around these guys right now. Like, you truly enjoy every minute of your job right now. There's times where I got to get after them and do some things, but this is a really fun group to be around, very hungry in many different levels.
All good?
Good? Awesome. Thank you.